All right, welcome to the Pal Life podcast. Happy New Year, everyone. I have with me again my man Brett Knopf. How are you doing, brother?
Doing good, doing good. It's I thought you were going to go with the Ace Ventura line. With my esteemed colleague, Mr. Marino.
Mr. Marino, do not go in there. Yeah, that is
But thanks
not.
for the introduction, anyhow.
Yeah, that is not Snowflake. But no, man, how's everything overall, man? You guys so busy with work and stuff?
Yeah. Listen, it's this industry is in obviously an interesting state at the moment. People that are coming in are loving being here, having a lot of success, and that's both on the trainer and employee side of things, as well as the members and clients. It's not the typical volume we're accustomed to, but it's the typical and probably enhanced dedication that people are having right now because they're kind of going against the grain of public opinion and coming in here and doing what they need to do. It's very cool to see, and everyone's very receptive to working with coaches right now. I think a lot of people were in a position where they were in a tough spot physically and mentally throughout the lockdowns and the pandemic at large. That they're taking their health and wellness very seriously right now. For innumerable reasons beyond what would typically be the case.
It's awesome. I mean, and as always, regardless of the viewpoints of everything that happened last year, how it came to be, what we can all agree on is that it's your health and your taking ownership and taking action on your life is ultimately all you can do. So for what that's worth, that's great to hear that people are doing that, especially in these times. But I think this is where the beauty is, kind of steamrolling into why I wanted to talk to you, being that New Year's resolutions is something we've experienced together as a team, and how to approach that with people, doing it from an honest place, doing it from a genuine, compassionate place as well. And I think this is, as much as people can bash this last year or all the problems in the world, being able to look at this and go, okay, well, what's the silver lining? And this is any goal-driven, path for most people is, okay, well, what's driving this, right? What is actually getting me on a path to change? And if you're seeing change and you're feeling the change and you're expressing that, then in your everyday life, right? Then is it really that bad of a situation? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so bad and scary, but it took that for me to go, well, I need to take my life into my own hands here. I need to take action. And then it's like, okay, would I've ever done that if it wasn't for that? You know what I mean?
Very much. I've spent the last several months reconnecting in particular with a lot of people that, even prior to this, may have lost touch with their separate way in general. And what's been extremely encouraging, and I would say this specifically within the folks that I know in our industry, health, wellness, fitness, all that jazz. A lot of them have really taken this opportunity to self-reflect, to take greater ownership, and to chart a different path forward for themselves. And really looking at this, while not diminishing any of the negative impacts that these external forces have had on any of us, but really looking at it more from an opportunistic viewpoint of what can I control, what can I do to improve myself, and what can I do, in the context of all of that, to provide even greater value for the people in my life and the world at large. Not to get too broad with it, but
right.
I've had a lot of those types of conversations, which I found extremely inspirational, encouraging. Insert any one of those types of words in here, and then we control the controllables, and how you're perceiving things and how you're taking action is within your control.
Yeah, I mean, and especially as you were saying, you're talking to a lot of colleagues in the industry, and knowing very well that most of us who have gotten in the industry want to help people. I think the biggest takeaway for me is knowing that in this new year specifically is it's just kind of rang true the most of at least now was we're spending so much time trying to help others when it's like, how much have we actually done anything for ourselves other than the physical, right? A lot of people can be like, oh, you trainers. I mean, I know a lot of trainers, myself included at times, where you might be in the best shape possible, but you're dealing with all your outside problems of relationships, maybe partying too hard, basically running from any sort of deeper issues that you've never really addressed. And maybe it's through exercise that you then is an outlet. So, but we know those, and not bashing anybody, but myself included. It's like on the outside it looks great, but on the inside there's so much turmoil. And I think this is a great time, especially with all the stuff going on. Everyone's like, "Oh, we need to change the world. We need to change this," and it really has just been as I said earlier, and it's manifested for me the idea that truly I can't do anything else outside of the world unless I understand what's going inside. And if I'm not doing anything for that, if I'm not willing to take that journey, then how can I actually really help anybody? If I really want to help people, how am I helping? And this is just how I've kind of started figuring things out is, what is how am I responding to the world around me? How am I then letting that energy affect my sessions, my relationships with the people in the sessions, or just people in my life, right? Because as you know, when you get clients that come in and they're carrying a certain energy, you feel it. And then it's like, okay, maybe you talk about it, maybe you don't, but it's there. But on the same token, what energy am I bringing to that relationship in that time? And if I'm constantly somebody who might be the smartest trainer in the world, have all this knowledge and can share it and help people, but I'm always bringing that type of darker or more, let's say, not so resonant energy. What is that really doing to my helping of others? Do you know what I mean? Anything you want to jump on that?
Yeah, yeah, by all means. I think you really hit the nail on the head with that inside out approach. The fact that, you know, if you aren't actively working on yourself and trying to dissect, what makes you tick, where are you strong, where are your areas of opportunity, leaning into your strengths and, trying to, work on your opportunities, whether that's by yourself or investing in other coaches, other people that can help you on your own journey in any number of ways. I'll use myself as an example. I've invested well over 5 figures over the last 6 months into mindset coach, business coach, understanding the online training realm, things that, you know, I feel like I wanted to up level my skill set and really just start to internalize that and make that part of who I am and what I can then pass along to others as well. So I think that when we are really actively taking the opportunity to work on ourselves and not just sitting there and we talked about manifesting, but just manifesting is all well and good, but if you're not being an active participant in
Right.
driving that, it's a hope, it's a dream.
Right.
The work ethic and the actual practical application of things is what's going to get you to those manifestations that you may have. So I say all that to say it's to me very much an inside out approach to creating the lives that we want. And for us as coaches, what's good for the goose is good for the gander here.
Mhm.
I won't ask someone to invest in working with me if I'm not willing to make that same investment in myself. And I've done that, in the methods I just mentioned. Our relationship. I, invested in training with you once upon a time. I encourage people to understand that while it's your responsibility to ultimately be responsible for your own actions and outcomes, there shouldn't be any hesitation or reservation about allocating resources to find people that are going to aid you on your journey.
Yeah. Now, with that all being said, and I agree with you, because we were talking before and kind of what this whole conversation about is being the new year, take this time to take ownership, but you made a comment when we were texting saying like, understanding that it's not just about a specific time to take that action. Any moment, it could be that now that you can take it in the direction that you want to. So where are you coming from in that mindset of, I guess first off, why do you think everybody wants to make the changes around the same time? What is your opinion on that?
There's a concept, and pardon me, I may butcher it a little bit, not as eloquent as I'd like it to, but there's this concept of future self. And that concept really is such that we look at January 1st, we look at Monday, back in December, or on a Wednesday, arbitrarily, and we're like, all right, that's when I'm going to really get my ass in gear and take care of these things. And what happens in the overwhelming majority of cases is that future self is not a realistic outcome for yourself. Waiting to do something, you're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. In the majority of cases, I don't know the statistic associated with it, but it's pretty significantly skewed towards people not taking the action, not being consistent with the action, even if they do take the action on that predetermined date in the future. So rather than kicking the can down the road, there is no perfect time. I mean, you're a new father. I'm a relatively new father over the last couple of years. I wasn't ready to be a father necessarily. I wasn't like, okay, on January 1st, I'm ready to be a dad.
Right.
It's just
Right.
not the way the world works in the majority of cases. I don't like to speak in absolutes, but the majority of the time. So rather than kicking that can down the road, I think there's a very big opportunity to, if you want to improve your diet, don't wait till Monday, just start doing it now.
Right.
If you slip up, don't wait until the next week to get back on the track, or don't even wait till the next day to get back on track.
Right.
And I use the word slip up loosely here. There's no slipping up. You do it the best of your ability, but get back on the horse. Get on the horse immediately. There's no benefits in large part to waiting for any of this, and that's health, that's fitness, that's nutrition, that's starting a new career, whatever the case may be. You're very, very unlikely to find that perfect time to make it happen. The best time is as soon as possible here.
Yeah.
My whole opinion.
I agree with you. I think when you allow yourself to just do it now, what ends up happening is being that we're such a society, especially in Western civilization, where it becomes overanalyzing. Everything is, let me think about logistically, and it has its place. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to, I feel like our own health, we talk ourselves off these ledges of well-being, of like, oh man, but like training for that might be really hard, or oh, this might be really difficult. I mean, I haven't done stuff like this in a long time, because in our minds we see, and my opinion is there's a what Walter Russell would call, and I highly recommend checking him out. It's called the universal one. There's one energy throughout this realm. Everyone, we all carry this energy. This is what we experience when we're interacting with people. People you resonate with, people you don't resonate with. There's, you get energies and vibes from people, emotions, literally locations in space and time. Have you ever been to a place where you're like, wow, I feel connected. I feel this is beautiful. Other places you're like, something feels weird here. I don't know what it is. Like we use these words. So when I talk about like January 1st, there, in my opinion, there's a programming of this is when to take on this energy, this motivated energy. And I feel for a lot of us, it's not coming from here. It's not coming from the heart. It's not coming from within. It's a programming, right? It's like, oh, get yourself geared in. Like it's literally marketing. And it becomes not a universal, but a very high population of people are on that same frequency. So what you're doing, in my opinion, is you're motivating off of this now energy, this frequency, in thinking it's your own, which is why, in my opinion, this is why we see so many people who never, they kind of quote unquote fall off, because they get into not only that group mindset, but then what ends up happening is based off of, you know, commercials, apps, marketing of, this is what I do. This, I want to look like this person physically. So these are the approaches I need to take. I have to be doing 5 times a week. I need to be doing, fasted cardio. And you start to believe, because you're just on that energy. You're like, I feel the high, I feel the frequency around. I now need to do something. What do I do? Oh, this is what everyone I'm told to do. This is, here we go. And then what ends up happening is I feel, because it's not true, it's not genuine for a lot of people. They don't know, as we said, what is really your driving force here? What is it that brought you into the gym? I feel a lot of people don't know. And I've come to realize, from my opinion, that maybe that's what it is for a lot of people. It's that cumulative frequency that's driving somebody, and they really don't have anything that, and I'll get to in a sec, that's true to them. And therefore, that's why we see a lot of people falling off, and then you fall back into your old emotional habits. And it becomes a situation where, as we've seen, oh, I have a client who's doing 4 times a week. Anytime you got a client who's doing 4 to 5 times a week, I'm like, this is only going to last for a couple of weeks. You get those few that really stay to it, but then you get the ones you're like, this is short lived. And when you're new to the training, you're like, oh my God, this is great. I'm getting someone frequently. And it's like, not in a disrespectful way, but just wait. And it's like, okay, well, what is driving them now? It's digging into that. Is it truly what they feel? You know what I'm saying? Did that make any sense?
Yeah, 100%. It really does. I mean, listen, not to lift the veil here, but from a sales perspective in our industry, we talk about tapping into the emotional trigger for people. And yeah, some people can use that in a manipulative way, but for those of us that are doing it properly, we want to help people understand what that intrinsic motivation is. Just wanting to lose weight is very surface level goal. There are almost 100% of the time reasons behind why that's the case, deeply rooted emotional reasons why you want to lose the weight, why you want to add muscle, whatever your particular goal is. And I already mentioned it, but it's hard to look at yourself objectively. You're likely not even thinking along those lines. So to the point you're making before, you're going to default to, the marketing that's put in front of you, tapping into the vibration of a lot of other people that are, in a similar realm. The majority of people aren't sitting there prior to getting into any sort of, training regimen or anything of the like, saying, all right, why is this so important to me? What is it about losing 10 pounds that really resonates with me, that is going to be something that I can hold front and center and keep it to motivate myself, because none of this shit is easy. Certainly never going to say that it is, but it's important. And I believe strongly that the overwhelming majority of people know these things are important, yet they don't prioritize their time, finances, whatever the case may be, towards it, because I don't think they fully can tap into that emotional trigger to keep themselves self-motivated, keep themselves intrinsically motivated.
Dude, I agree with you, man. And as I was saying before, and that I would get to, is that I think, and this is just my opinion from my experience of my own self, but others, is that we, as you said, when you bring the true emotion of whatever it is that's really driving your current habits or current lifestyle that you want to see change, as you just made clear, is that I genuinely feel that the only true way to see the change that we want to see, and not just motivated for a couple months seeing change and then falling back into old habits, but really making a lifestyle change, is that we have to understand and embrace, keyword embrace, trauma, because we live in a world that is way too comfortable. Way too comfortable. You have heat, electricity, you can turn on the air, you can get in a car to get from place to place, you can have all these things that we take for granted. And what ends up happening is a lot of us scroll so complicit with just this, my opinion, a mundane life. You have all these riches of going places here and there, and on the surface, it sounds great. But then what happens is you realize that there's a suffering of, I feel alone, or I feel like this isn't fulfilling. There's something missing. Or when true emotions come to surface, I don't want to deal with those because it carries too much weight. So let me go back to these other things that, again, people who shop a lot, people who, if we have clients who like to party, people who are workaholics, these are all these little things that are trying to keep from the true, from my experience, true traumas that are lying there. And this is all these other, this is I call noise that keeps them from really embracing it. And as you said, looking yourself objectively to be able to go, hey, what is causing these traumas? What has been there? And when not, and I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not pretending to be, but when you can help someone in their own journey kind of face it and know that they can handle it, you now take that thing that has been holding you back and you now use it and you carry it with this love, going, I couldn't do this without you. Like, I know it sounds wild here, but I couldn't experience this change, this true change of life, if you did not try to protect me all this time. That's just the thing about it. All that trauma is just your way of trying to protect self with a capital S for the time being. Well, now we're just changing that thing. We're not removing it. We're not ignoring it. We're actually just going, hey, who are you? What is this thing? Can we talk? I want to hear what you have to say. And I know it sounds a little out there, but when you do that, as you said, you can now look at yourself objectively, go, okay, hey, loneliness from when you were, 7, 8, when whatever, maybe parents got divorced and that stayed with you. How are you? I know, we've talked about people who've come in. I've told you stories of some of my equal fits and some crazy things that get brought up. And you start to realize it's like, oh man, once you address it and you kind of bring it to the surface and know how to address it and allow it to go, hey, this is a trauma. This is something that is, I'm sacrificing this moment to deal with this emotion, but I want to do it and I want to grow from it. And then obviously, when you do go to exercise, what are you doing? You're creating physical trauma. Those emotions come to the surface. Maybe, hey, I don't feel worthy. I can't do this. This is too much. I'm scared of what could happen if I don't succeed. And you just start to know, hey, you I can do it. Let's learn how to deal with that. Let's bring that emotion to the surface. Let's overcome. Let's conquer. Let's thank it. Let's give it what it needs in a way of saying thank you for what you've done. But now I'm going to approach it this way. I'm going to push myself a little more. I'm gonna allow myself the life that I truly want. And I mean, when you do this without saying all that, you see people in just a happier place. And you're not having to tell them, well, you said you had how many pieces of bread this week? Maybe start off by having, instead of 10, have 9. And I know this is a good approach. It has its place, but right, it's like, are we really sometimes getting to the true meaning? And this is just something I'm always trying to do.
Yeah, no, I know you are. And, let me ask you a follow-up question with that.
Yeah.
What types of longer term results have you seen come from that with some of your best clients? I say best, meaning the people that have really been able to confront those traumas, address them, and advance the ball in sports parlance, so to
Yeah.
speak.
What's interesting is that it's obviously every person's different. I'm not trying to cop out, but everyone's different, and how I actually approach it changes on the person. I don't necessarily dive in because, as I said, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not here to pretend to be. But what I end up doing is I've learned, and when I've seen people successful, is when they start to visually, I can see panic and stress. I go, what's going on? I don't think I can do it. Well, where's that coming from? And I just start to ask questions. Where's that coming from? Is that the same emotion you feel with the stress you've been feeling with work? Is it? Okay. How long have you been feeling that? You know what I mean? Do you feel you can overcome that? Do you feel like it has a control over you? So everyone's different. I don't necessarily do it exactly like that every single person, but what I start to do is instead of going to all these questions, just kind of hitting a few. And what I've seen with people when we do that, and I always then bring it back just to the breath, knowing, as I said before, embrace the stress, embrace this sacrifice you're making, and then tell me how you feel. Find something where you feel comfortable, but you feel the stress. Good. Do you feel like you're losing control of yourself? Do you feel like you don't have this, you don't have 10 more seconds? Good, you have 20 more seconds. Not to be like, go on, push it, but going, don't listen, like, don't ignore, but don't let that voice that's telling you you can't do it, don't let it control you. You've given it that chance, thank it, now do it because I know you can. And then they'll do it and they go, wow, I did 20 seconds ago. No, you just did 40. And they don't realize it. And this is these little wins of things where then I get clients who even, sometimes we still have our setbacks. I have a client right now who just had another gout attack. So we're always, trying to approach how can we get to these things? What is the commonalities here? But it's like, man, I've never moved like this in my entire life. This feels great. And I'm like, I didn't do it. I'm only facilitating your journey. You allowed yourself to calm down. You've allowed yourself to address whatever your issue is. Because when you think about it, that's all it is. Like, talk about physical. I hope I answered your question a little bit, but let's think about physical stress with muscles, right? You get people come in, I feel tight. They go to a move, they start to, compensate all these things. What's happening? Okay. We can say they don't have a certain range of motion. Now, unless they have something completely blocking, or maybe their shoulder's just completely out of line and there's literally nowhere to go. For the most part, it's just, we say, oh, it's tension, it's dehydration, it's whatever the case is. But in reality, all that is a defense mechanism protecting, as we said before, it's fascia around the muscle where the nerve endings are that are creating such a suction to the body because it's under that constant stress. And that stress obviously is protecting. So what happens is you get someone here and they're like, you create more stress. They're like, I can't do this. And then there's this constant biofeedback mechanism of like, too much. Oh, this is pain. Oh, why am I doing this? This isn't worth it. Crap, this really hurt. So what ends up happening is time and time again, it's like they haven't even taken a single breath. They haven't allowed themselves to send that calming signal to the body. In reality, even with stress is not even exercise, it's the same thing. When you get worked up, what do? Or like this, because what are you doing? You're ready to fight, you're ready to pounce, or you're ready to run. You're creating all of this energy, but it's coming from such a place of lack of consciousness, in my opinion, for a lot of us. So that energy is going to go to where it knows. So a lot of times with clients, all I'm doing when we do this is just going, okay, where do you want to put this tension? I have no idea. Okay, that's a start. Well, where do you feel pain the most? Oh, in my shoulders. Okay, well, at least we know that's where it wants to go. I just had it today with a client earlier today, and this is one of those things that's just learning how for her to go, I felt it want to go to my hip flexors, but I was able to redirect that attention. Now, it wasn't like I completely didn't feel it there, but I was like, well, why do you want to put it there? Because I was worried. What were you worried about? This literally happened this morning. I was worried because I don't usually sit that deep in a squat with a kettlebell. Okay, well, why did you do it now? Because I felt safe. Did you feel safe throughout? At times I started to worry, well, what did you do in those times? Well, I was breathing. I was trying to do what you were telling me. Okay. Did you do what you wanted to do? Well, yeah. Okay, it doesn't matter what I want. Were you able to maintain that? And it's like, okay, wow, this constant ability for her to not feel seizing up of that area where she's trying to protect herself. She was able to let that tension go and let the rest of the body work with it. I hope I know I went on a rant there, but does that kind of also help make sense from the training aspect rather than just telling people and trying to motivate?
Yeah, by all means. There's a greater sense of ownership there. There's a greater sense of that just getting unstuck, which is so huge. I mean, it's parable for any other challenge in life. The physical and the tight hip flexor, shoulder girdle, whatever
Mm-hmm.
examples we use here. But really, I like the fact that you asked the question. Is that what you wanted to do? What you ultimately felt comfortable with? And that's big. Because to me, that's what's going to make these things stick that much more. It's like like any goal setting, for example, I could sit here all day and dictate to someone what I believe is in their best interest to do, but it's going to be infinitely better if I'm asking a series of questions to get you to come to those types of conclusions yourself, or some variant of that that is in line with who you are, your values, what you want to do, and really just peeling back that onion, and trying to get to those. Again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a psychologist, psychiatrist either, but it's there's a lot of behavioral psychology involved in what we do.
Right.
Understanding that and studying that as a fitness professional, really just as any human being,
Right.
it's beneficial, because there's the majority of us. Forget about the majority of us. I will speak in absolutes on this one.
Mhm.
Every single one of us is walking around with some sticking point, some
Yeah.
trauma, something that is preventing us from getting to our ultimate potential, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And, you know, understanding that and not being upset about that, but really looking at that through the lens of, wow, that's great news. A,
Mhm.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Literally every single person, the highest level of success stories out there, they're experiencing something that's not unique to them. So that's terrific because they've still been able to achieve those levels.
Right.
Secondly, because it's something that is internal, or even if it's external, physical challenges. You see paraplegics just excelling in the Olympics, for
Right.
say, so understanding those things and knowing that there is uh, an avenue to get unstuck, or at least be cognizant of that and work through that, and really take that as something that you can ultimately uh, utilize as perhaps even motivation to strive for what you're looking to accomplish in life. Now, I find it to be more of an empowering circumstance rather than a limiting circumstance, if you're willing to look at it through that lens. And circling back to what we talked about at the beginning here, really taking an active role in trying to figure that out and address it accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to take it back to what we were saying before as well, but I am with you because as you've made it clear, and I do this as well for myself, is knowing, okay, hey, there is no right time to start taking action. More often than not, it's when we say like it's in the now, as I've said for my career time time again, learning how to just understand the present. When you really tap into the now, or what I would say the present, you allow yourself to actually be within self, and as we said, going in. And when you do that, man, there's so much motivation because our entire life is always out. What's in the news? What's on my phone? What is this person up to? Oh, I want to do what they're doing. So everything is always out here. But when you can now go, man, I have a potential within. I just need to go in. And now you've opened that door, as we said, not waiting till January 1st, not waiting for the hive mind of when is a good time to start seeing change. And how do we know that? Well, we see it in sales. We know, we've seen on the floor when it gets busier, when, how long. We've literally at the gym, you could predict like, hey, by March this time it's going to slow down significantly, and you see it year after year. And that always dawned on me, I always pondered on that, and then it dawned on me that I was like, well, first, why is that? And we're like, oh, people just lose motivation. It's like, as I said before, it's not, I just don't think the motivation that was in their mind is theirs. They were literally feeding off an energy of a group. Just like when we're in our group meetings, when you have good vibes, everyone's doing well, you feed off the energy, and literally it's part of them. I mean, taking action, like you've said, but there's a manifestation that occurs because you're feeding off a mind of a group. And that's a real thing. I mean, we can show that and they can prove that. And I think that's what makes what we do, and going into this new year and helping people, being like, yeah, you can start January 1st, but is it coming from your motivation? Is it coming from a place truly within yourself, a trauma within yourself, that's something that's so profound and beautiful that you can actually now go, all right, I see the gem, I see this gem, and it's not, and in your mind, let's just say it's like almost like buried in shit. But when you kind of move that away, you realize, oh wait, this isn't just a pile of shit. This is where the beauty lies. And then this is part of my growth too, and being able to be a trainer or a colleague or a friend, a mentor, or whatever I can be to people, is someone going, look, I've truly am going on this journey with you. I'm making the same mistakes. I'm learning about myself more and more. I have to sit with the things that I've done that maybe hurt people, or people are addressing things to me where I'm like, wow, that stings that you're saying that. And I want to be defensive in this moment, but you're right. What I did, maybe my actions, maybe what I said wasn't the most appropriate thing. Maybe I really did say something that really hurt somebody, or you know what I'm saying? I'm just making things up here, but it's like, okay, where did that come from within though? And then it's like, wow, okay, is this what's causing me to stress eat, for some people? Or is this what's causing me to want to go party a lot more? And then when you can do that, you start to look at yourself, as you said, objectively, to really go, oh, I do that. That's okay. I see it. I truly see it, because we can have amnesia within ourselves. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I acted that way. That wasn't me. I don't know what that was. I don't know where that came from. I really don't know that I've never done that. It's like these things where we don't realize the person, or the emotions within. Sometimes I need something to pull that out. And you really go, wow, I didn't even know this about myself. you know and I think that's what's so beautiful about what we can do, is if you can help people understand, hey, there is no perfect time to start. Just, you really got to start now, but you have to know it's coming from within, and you're going to have shit that surfaces, but that's the point. It's how you grow. You're not going to get a higher deadlift if you don't work up to a weight that is past your comfortability. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. It's well, that's what was interesting in having so many of the conversations that I mentioned earlier, with people, is I think during this period of time, specifically, March, April, May, June, earlier on in this, when we were in that lockdown mode, and we weren't around as many people as we're typically accustomed to being. You know, I think in the typical, pre-COVID world, and even at this point, I'm not going to say that it's not the case right now, but there's just this bombardment of the senses. There's this bombardment of information. I mean, we're sitting here carrying around,
Mhm.
supercomputer in our hands at all times, just information, 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 conflicting information, information overload. It's this bombardment of the senses that distracts us from being able to turn our attention inward,
Mhm.
really identify those sort of opportunities within ourselves.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's fucking scary to go down that rabbit hole. And I think a lot of us use those distractions to make sure we don't have to confront those traumas, those realities, those things that are ultimately going to be the things that are hardest to work our way through, but are going to reap the greatest rewards in terms of personal, professional, mental growth. Any of the above, and
Mhm.
that. So, what was great to see, and plenty of times I've seen it now, is in the absence of a lot of those distractions of being on that hamster wheel, that wash, rinse, repeat cycle that
Mhm.
the majority of us are on, that autopilot cycle that a lot of us are on, there was almost a necessity to just step back and figure out what is going on. What do I really care about? What do I really want to be doing with my life? And I'm happy to say I'm seeing a lot of people um, really reinventing themselves, confronting those things, and not, again, not necessarily just on their own, but finding mentors, finding coaches, finding people that can really help them work through it. As you said before, because we're working through it as well. We're all we're all connected in that sense. In that nobody's perfect. We're imperfect beings. So there's always going to be opportunities for growth. There's always going to be opportunities for improvement. No one ever gets to that pinnacle of I don't even know what that would look like. Of
Jesus.
I don't even know. I can't.
Jesus.
Of what?
Jesus.
Yeah, gee, yeah, that's
Essentially.
about it. That's
Essentially.
about it.
In my opinion.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's I look at this as an encouraging thing, not a discouraging
Yeah.
thing. That's the case, and we'll keep bringing it back to the point of this particular podcast. But don't wait.
Yeah.
No reason to wait. It's a process. Embrace the process.
Right.
Embrace the failure associated with it, because every single person that lives and achieves fails innumerable times, and learn from it, and don't be afraid of it, because it's going to be what promotes the ultimate growth, as long as you allow that to be the case.
Yeah. Now with your
Not to get too preachy, sometimes.
No, I love it, man. I think this is the thing is as you said, is the people in your life that are seeing and you've spoken to are experiencing those changes within themselves and then also around them. That's why I love having these conversations, because even if it's one person that hears this, it's a matter of understanding that just us putting this out into the ether, literally putting it out into the field of what is called the ether. What you're doing is this is the hive mind that is becoming the new norm. And when we say new norm, I don't mean in our society lifestyle. Obviously there's things that are happening with that, but the matter is that doesn't have to be the reality. Certain things don't have to be your reality. As the saying goes, you create your reality. That is 100% true. And there's without question. If you and I are looking at the same exact thing, and we are looking at it and you're going, I hate this. And I'm saying there's so much beauty in this moment. How then that manifests the rest of your day in your life is very different than mine. And that's the thing is your realities now become so different based off of our same experience. We can have literally the same exact experiences for the rest of our lives. And it's how we perceive. It is what we take from it. Are we learning anything from this? And as you said, when we're looking at that, that smartphone in our hand and we're constantly bombarded with all this sensory information, and we allow it to take us to a place where we're now run by those emotions. Well, one, that's not a coincidence. That's not by accident. There's purpose to that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But the fact is at the end of the day, it's still, what are you allowing into your field? What are you allowing? What are taking ownership, taking responsibility? And as you're saying with the people you're talking to, it sounds like people are going, all right, I'm willing to take a step back here. Let me look at my life. Why am I stress eating? Why am I doing this? Why am I allowing the stuff on my phone to affect me so much? Is it really affecting me that much? Or am I just in another hive mind of, well, if I don't have this emotion like everybody else, maybe I won't be accepted. Maybe I won't be a part of something. Maybe I'll be alone. And that's going to feed back into my trauma of loneliness. I'd rather be a part of something that's this angst and aggression than be alone. Do you see how this all starts to intertwine? It really can. When all you can do is go, okay, well, what am I feeling? I feel alone. All right. That's probably something maybe it was spawned from a childhood thing. Cool. Well, you know what? I'm not going to engage with the stuff that's on my phone, or maybe I'm not going to see it the way everyone else is. Well, maybe people don't want to respond to you. Maybe people don't want to talk to you anymore. Well, here comes that loneliness maybe again, but that's okay. I don't feel alone because I'm making decisions. I'm aware of what causes this, and this isn't the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can really make those changes, and your entire reality of life changes, even under stress of going, hey, I know I'm stressing, maybe I'm stressing a little bit. What is it coming from? Okay, yada, yada, yada. Am I enjoying this though? Am I enjoying the moment? Am I with people I love? Okay, maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Am I learning from this? Yeah, maybe I am learning a little something. Well, let me enjoy this for the time being. Wow, okay, this actually wasn't the same experiences I've had before when I do this. It's these little things where you can start to manifest and through action, these lives that you want to live. But it all starts with that now. It doesn't have to be going to the gym today. It could be literally starting with mindset. It could be, how am I perceiving my world? Literally can start there. What do you think?
And by all means, I would almost say that it should start there, and not to box anyone in, but that's going to be a recognition that can be parlayed into really dramatic changes. And I think we can easily get ahead of ourselves. We're talking in really broad terms and
Yeah,
really life changing, dramatic terms, but the expectation of everything just let's we're going to go inwards, we're going to figure this out, and
of course.
I'm going to wake up and la di da, everything's fucking hunky dory. All that's
Mhm.
gone bye is unrealistic.
Of course.
People understanding and embracing the process of growth, the process of change, changing that paradigm, so to speak, the lens through which you perceive the world is it's a long, arduous, and largely never-ending process. So understanding that conceptually and being cool with that, and you know, setting goals and really making incremental progress day after day after day after day is what's going to lead to the bigger life changes ultimately. And I believe that everyone is capable of such things. That being said, plenty of people, it's scalable as far as the external circumstances that can get in your way of doing so. But at the end of the day, it's just you, it's just me. That's it. We're gonna, not to be morbid about it, we're gonna die in our own arms. When it's all said and done. So we have to take responsibility. No one else. That's really what it ultimately comes down to. Um, so
Well, I know you got to run, but
wrap it
what it,
there.
I know you. No, I love it, man. And that I was like, oh man, I could really dive into that here in
I
a
know.
second. But I'll
We'll
leave.
get
I'll
it
leave.
next time.
I'll till next time. But I will say, just to kind of leave everybody, maybe you can agree with this. Is yes, it's a long, never-ending process. It's not that easy. Obviously, we're talking in broad, big terms. But I ask everybody just to simply start with this. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What emotion am I feeling, and why? Just start there. Just ask yourself a simple question. If you don't have the answer to what am I feeling, that's a good place to start. Simple, in the sense of just let me ask myself. And then the why. And the why sometimes might take a little longer. But then when you feel you've asked yourself why, keep asking why, because you'll start to go down a path where you allow yourself to actually go inward and really ask yourself the question. You know what I mean?
Completely agree. That's a great. Simon said, start with why. That's
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
So awesome, man. Well, in the time being, everyone can follow you same place.
Same place, same that time, same that channel.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll let you go. Thanks for your time, brother. And we'll talk soon.
Always a pleasure. Have
All right,
a
man.
good night.
I see you.